Rightio, Campbells Comments here in Australia. I've got a beanie on. Jamie McKinnon in New Zealand. You've got the clean head. Firstly, welcome, mate.
Yeah, and short sleeves on. It's so warm over here.
Is the heater roaring?
I'm inside. Haven't got the fire on yet.
It's actually a very cool day. I must say, I'm going to take off the uniform one because it is a bit warm with the sun. It's still not. It is winter time, but it's spring is coming. We're not far off the breeding season, and that's what we're here to sort of promote and get about with Haras to Trotteurs, Jamie. But just quickly, with the lockdown, you've got a full lockdown at the minute in New Zealand on both islands. I believe the South Island may be coming out of it towards the weekend. Trying circumstances for you guys?
Yeah, well, it's difficult trying to run any business, let alone a racing business. And the big issue we've got here is that we're in level 4, which means everything's locked down. You want to train your horse, you're not allowed to fast work it. You can exercise it, take it for a walk, but it can't be fast worked. And that's problematic in that if all of a sudden we drop to level 3 in another week or two, well, how many horses are going to be fit to race? So to me, that's I think that's something they've got to get sorted out quick smart, because the race industry is worth so much to the New Zealand economy, both thoroughbred and harness, and you can't not be training your horses. I mean, I think there's an animal welfare thing there as well, but at the moment you can let them out of their pens and exercise them, but you can't properly work them. So that's an issue. There's going to be an announcement on Friday as to whether Auckland stays in level 4, which, if you're a punting person, you'd put all your house on that we are going to stay in level 4. Will the South Island move down a level? You'd think it would do. There's no cases down there. Maybe if they drop to level 3, at least the horses can be trained and they can hold a race meeting without people being there. So we're hoping that the South Island get that away. And then we just have to hope for the best with Auckland. But whilst the infection rates are increasing, it's unlikely that we're going to see any relaxing of the levels here for, a few weeks, I would think.
Must be trying. You wear a few different hats. Auckland Harness Racing Club. Is it trotting club they classed as, aren't they?
I'm sorry, just something clicked across my screen and I missed that.
Well, it's the Auckland Trotting Club, isn't it? I actually called you the Harness Racing Club, but it's the Auckland Trotting Club.
Auckland Trotting Club, yeah, we're old-fashioned. We're stuck with trotting. I still call it going to the trots. I can't get my head around going to the harness, but I go to the trots. My kids all go to the trots. My son Jack trains trotters. We're one of the clubs that's stuck with trots.
Ballarat over here is still the Ballarat and District Trotting Club as well. Don't worry, Paul Rouse will be very happy to hear you say that. But it must be a bit tricky for you guys there, juggling a race club that can't race, can't even have people attend it. It must be very tricky, and you've had a few issues over the last few years as well. So it must just make everything a bit tricky for you.
Yeah, I suppose I could touch on the issues, because no doubt people are aware of the issues that the club's had. We embarked on a property development. Really can't say too much about that other than that some poor choices might have been made. We got ourselves into some trouble. We've dug ourselves out of the trouble, but we're now left with a debt. The apartment blocks were completed 2 weeks ago. People are all moving in. They're all sold. So that's a good part about it. The retail, which the club has held on to, that has a capitalised value of about 50 mil. So that's a plus. But we're left with a significant debt. Now, that debt has yet to be crystallised, but it's probably in the vicinity of, could be 90 mil. It's a problem. We have ways and means of getting out of that. It's not going to put the club under, as many people thought. But we've got ways and means to get out of that, and over the next couple of years we expect to be back in front, and at that point we look to be raising stake money again and get back on the track that we once were. But no, everything's good. We've got a Pukekohe training centre, which is another thing on the horizon. That's roughly 40 minutes south of the Auckland Alexandra Park. That land is about to be rezoned, which will make it difficult for us to continue there as a training centre. A number of the trainers that had properties around the outside have already sold up, so we're now going to have to move that. So there'll be a bonus there in that the property, once it's rezoned residential, will be worth a lot of money, and we'll move somewhere nearby. It can't be too far away because it's got established trainers that won't travel too far. So we'll be looking for some farmland nearby that we can build a state-of-the-art training centre. And I guess there'll be some money out of that sale that we kick into our coffers in Auckland, and again, that'll help the stake money.
That's phenomenal. It's big money. You dropped my jaw, but I like the positive outlook that you're not overly worried about it. And I think the way that you answered it sort of silences a lot of critics, because you've got yourself up here and said that you will be fine in a couple of years. Hopefully, you may not be out of debt completely, but you'll be a lot better off than what you are. So
it's manageable, Paul. I mean, be honest, we sit on the board there, and this has been going on for some years. I've been on the board for, in total about 12 years, but I had a period away, and I'm not saying that because the wrong thing happened, but I had a period away when this development started, and by the time I came back, we were well and truly into it. And you'd have to say, poor choice of contractors, got involved in a perfect storm, then a perfect storm on a perfect storm, and then COVID. Nothing seemed to go right. You can't believe we had the right people, the right consultants employed, but just things didn't go right. No one deliberately goes into these developments to lose money, but that's what happened. So we had to sweat it out, and we did. We got a result. As I say, everything's sold. We've got more land to develop, and that's where there'll be the future that will put the club back in front. I can tell you now, we won't be developing ourselves. Excuse me, we'll be cutting a deal that the club is absolutely out of trouble and just bank some money. So, we're fortunate we're in a position where we've got assets to realise on, and then the club will get back in front again and push forward with committing ourselves to pushing stakes at North, and that's what we've got to do. It's got to trickle down to all stakeholders, otherwise we can't get the business going again.
I was there for Weanling sales earlier this year. I think, is that April, March? Anyway, it doesn't matter exactly. Row Cup time it was. April, May. Yeah. And I love the place. I love the feel about the place. I think you can never replicate a feel about a place. Your winning owners room, I think, hats off to you guys. I was blown away by that. I like history. So I think that part's really good. But when I saw the development, I was like, yeah, this is two things. One, it's great because you've got residential people there on a trotting track. Plus you've got you've got retail going to be going in there as well. But that residential part, the chance of getting more owners and more people participating in the industry is a flow-on effect of that no one will be able to measure. Because you don't know how many people that will live in there that may never have owned a horse or wanted to own a horse that might end up owning horses, and that's a flow-on effect to the trainer that wins the next race. Unfortunately for you guys, can't be today, but when they win that next race, someone in that residential area might buy a share in one of those horses, and there is an ongoing flow-on effect of what could happen, and that's what I was blown away by it. And then of course I got told that it hasn't all been beer and skittles, but that's part of how it works.
I guess that's one of the bonuses. I mean, one of the other problems we had with the build was that, if you look at those apartments, you could be somewhere, I don't know, they're just amazing. There's of them, and the fit out is just, 6-star. They're beautiful apartments, but they were over designed, so the builders were struggling to build them. So, these things, but what you've got is some of the nicest apartments you'll see anywhere. And the fact they're all sold out, were sold out a long time ago, is testament to the fact that they're quality, they're in a very good location close to the city. And hopefully we'll get a kick through, and some of those people become members, some of those people become owners. And I've been in one of the apartments which is closest to the track, because some of them are closer, some of them a bit further back, and incredible viewing, just unbelievable. But I had the money, I'd buy by myself.
There are a couple of well-known New Zealand identities that might own an apartment or two, isn't there?
That is true. I don't know if I'll tell you the names because people might be banging on their doors for a race night. But yes, there's quite a few well-known identities that have bought apartments. So yeah. And
I actually love the Lone Star restaurant at the 200 metre mark. I think I just look at that and I just think that's a great way to sell harness racing, because they have to then want to go to the next section if they enjoy it from there, because they can't see the finish. So it's a flow-on effect as well.
Well, one of the part owners, of course, is Trevor Casey, who puts a lot of into harness racing, races a lot of top horses, and so he's a good tenant to have, and of course he introduced a lot of people to our business. We've built a great big patio out from his restaurant. On a summer's night, you can sit out there and you can touch them just about. You can smell the horses. It's a great experience, and I think he'll do very well.
It's probably one of the things I think we do wrong in harness racing. We always build a grandstand towards a winning post, which then limits you as to where you can move and what you can do. 2 furlongs out, a furlong out, you can go as big as you like. Like you said, you've got a patio almost touching the horses up over the top. It's a good way for other race clubs to design what they want to do. Just get away from that winning post. You don't have to be around the winning post. The TV screens will show you who gets to the winning post first.
Well, some people would say that we got it wrong on both counts, the grandstands and the winning post in the wrong place. Should be going left-handed, not right-handed.
Does take a little bit of getting used to, I can tell you. But you guys don't mind it. So yeah, look, I think that's great, and I really enjoyed it. I love talking to you New Zealanders. I think what you do, the property development part of it, I would imagine as a harness racing club, you weren't expecting to be doing so much on property development, and you sort of almost finished one and you're going to start another one up. It's just incredible, isn't it?
Well, we've got a bunch of projects around us, which is why we had the conviction to get through this, because if you looked at the problems and the debt, it'd be easy to say it's all too hard. Let's sell the whole lot up and go south somewhere, like clubs like Melton and Menangle have done. But it's as you said, it's a special place. There's a lot of history there, and we thought we'll dig in, we'll get through this, and we did. But of course, apart from the Pukekohe development, we've got the gap between where the apartments finish and where the grandstands start. Now, there's a significant development there, just as big as what we've done. So that'll be the next stage, and what that will do will complete it right up to the grandstands. There'll be more retail, more apartments, and it finishes the whole development and project, so it'll look like something. So that we expect to be happening next year sometime. We've got some interested parties. We're about to make an announcement in the next week or two, which will kickstart that. And we'll get a bunch of cash, and that'll go straight towards the debt.
Cool. That's great news, Jamie. Thank you. I wasn't expecting that. People will see the badging and everything around, because we both wear a few hats. But I wouldn't mind catching up with you again. As things start to develop from a New Zealander point of view, just to get that word out there, so that people are aware of what is actually going on and how things are travelling. Because hearing it from the horse's mouth stops the rumours. People can say, oh, Jamie said this and Jamie said that, but when you actually hear it come from someone's mouth, it gets a little bit more credence, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's only so much I can say, but what I can say is that we're heading in the right direction, and there will be some announcements made in the next few weeks, and it's all positive. And we just got to get on, get through this virus, and then look towards our spring and summer carnivals.
Absolutely. That's one of the things I wanted to get on here for. I've got quite a few studs over here in Victoria, in Victoria that I look after and promoting them, one of which is Haras to Trotteurs and Pat Driscoll. You guys have a band of stallions that will be over there. As well, there's only the one stallion, I think, actually standing over there. There's a couple of chilled stallions that we can get into New Zealand, plus 4 or 5 of the frozen ones. I want to promote those so that people in New Zealand are aware they're there, because the trotter is growing, every day. I reckon the trotter gets better and better. So I think we...
Well, yeah, and just to add to that, Paul, I sit on the Sire Stakes board, but also I represent the Auckland Trotting Club on a committee that's looking to change a lot of the racing pattern, or the feature racing in New Zealand, due to the horse's change of birth date. And one of the special things that's coming out of this consultation period is that they've realised the growth in trotting. You've only got to look at the prices that is what the Hills and a number of the yearlings brought this year. Just phenomenal money. Even over your way, that Father Patrick colt of Pat's, 170 grand, I think it bought, of Ballalua. I mean, there's big money being paid, and you just can't sit back and say, well, that was very nice. You've got to start putting something into the stake money so investors can get a decent return. And I mean, Pat's been doing that forever, but you've got to commend Pat for the amount of money he's put all both Australia and New Zealand. But Harness Racing New Zealand has now recognised it's time they stepped up to the plate, and you're going to see trotting races advancing significantly. Our Row Cup was 150 last year. Next year it's going to be 250. So that's a step up. The Dominion Handicap, that's going to get a significant increase. I don't know if it's been announced yet, but across the board, they're going to start and put more into fillies and mares trotting races, plus reward breeders with breeders' bonuses. So these things have been, they haven't been there in the past. It's time they came around and, say, recognition of the trotting breed, that they're going to put a lot more into trotting than they have been. And not to say they're not going to put more into pacing, but there's a recognition that's been out of kilter. So anyone that's into breeding trotting in New Zealand, they're going to see a lot more going forward for them.
That's great news. I did a little impromptu All Trotters show on Sunday, basically off the back of watching. There was 2 Group 1s, our sales graduate Group 1s races at Kilmore, but just the quality of trotters that were going around. By the time it got to the last one, I sent a message to Anton and a message to Duncan McPherson, let's do a trotting show, because it's just amazing how much these trotters are growing in popularity, and it's been very well received. And I think they are the future of our sport, because I don't think we can grow the paces a lot more. Obviously, we can give them more stake money and the likes, but the trotters can grow. We can get more and more trotting races on each card just by breeding more horses, basically.
Yeah, it's a long time coming, and I don't know, they were always the poor relation, weren't they?
Yep.
But there's nothing better to see a beautiful trotter in action. The gait on them, they're just a beautiful animal to watch. And I initially started in pacing. I was in pacing for decades, but we got involved with trotting, and we just haven't looked back. I mean, I've had a lot of success. I've been lucky with my paces, but I've had some success with my trotters, and I'm only breeding trotters now. And I was fortunate to meet Pat a year or 2 back, and to see what he was trying to achieve. And when he said to me just over a year ago, would I help out in New Zealand, it was an easy yes.
Yeah, he's a very passionate man. He breeds the passion, doesn't he? You walk away, if you're not more passionate about a trotter after talking to Pat, you'll never be passionate about him.
And you mentioned Duncan McPherson before. There's a couple of guys that are just so passionate. I mean, you've got to look after these people and make sure they're putting money in, regardless of what the return might be coming back. They're just going to keep putting it in. And too many of these people, they're not looked after. I think it's time that the clubs recognise that these people are important to our business, and they're not looking for the recognition, but they need to be looked after. Yeah,
absolutely, Duncan. And he set a horse out today, 4-year-old mare from America, and she trotted 154 around Menangle on a very cold winter's day, even though it is springtime. It was a cold winter's day. We've had I'm Ready Jet beat, I listen to these great form students that, say things all the time. We all say things and we regret them sometimes, but the comment was, we'll find out which one of them is the best here in Covered in Darkness or Majestuoso. And a 4-year-old trotting mare sat in the deaf, and they couldn't get near her, and they weren't going to get near her.
Well, and she was just a massive power, wasn't she?
Yep.
Now, I think I better get this right. She's by Used to Me, I think, isn't she?
No, it's the other one. I'm Set to Go is by Used to Me.
QUAKER Jet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I get mixed up with the Reedies and the Jets. I mean, he's got plenty of them.
I'm glad you knew. I'm glad you knew who she was by, because I'm like, I'm in trouble here. But no,
it's one or the other.
Yeah, I'm Set to Go. They both go around as a Group 3 here at Bendigo on Saturday night, and I recommend all you Kiwis to tune in. I can't actually get the time, but I've seen it. It is, and it's a depth. These are mares, and it is a ripping race of high quality mares.
If you look at the size by the, QUAKER Jet and Used to Be now, in New Zealand, as we know, it's a numbers game. You can have a great stallion, but if he doesn't get the mares, he's going to be the best kept secret. And both those horses have not had many mares, and they haven't had the top line mares. And, it's hard for them to get traction. But if you're prepared to put a decent mare to those horses, I think you'll get a decent horse. Now, my son was saying to me that that the Used to Me yearlings that he's had anything to do with. He said they're the best gaited horses, best gaited trotters he's had anything to do with. He said there's any aluminiums. He said they're just natural trotters.
Yep.
So to see if the fact that he's there in the flesh, it'd be good to see him do a job. These mares can put him on the map.
I saw him a few years ago now when he stepped out. He actually raced at Bendigo, and they're a different builder trotter, but he's just a powerhouse. Used to me, I'm talking about, obviously, and he's just a strong trotter, and he's done a great job over here. While you've been talking, I try to think of Kate Hargrave's trotter that won the Group 1 last year. But I mean, he's not fashionably bred, but he's just a lovely horse, and sort of did exactly what Jack said. He's progressed through his grades. He actually won his first 2-year-old trot at Kilmore, but every horse galloped, including he actually galloped too. It was sort of survival of the fittest. And you watch that race and you think, oh, none of those will go on. Yet he won the Breeders' Crown final and was just phenomenal. And I still can't think of his name. I'm in all sorts of trouble with his name, but it doesn't matter. But he's just, I think Used to Me's done a great job, as you say, with not the pin-up style horses. Mares.
Yeah. Was it called Don't something?
Yep. Keep going and I'll get it.
That's far enough.
Everyone else will be throwing stuff at it. We'll see how long they've listened to it. Anyway, they'll correct me. But
we're wondering about these two clowns that don't need their horses.
We're here to promote Pat's horses, and we're going good. Pat's watching this now. He's shaking his head. He's thinking, "Oh no." Actually, I'll tell you what. I probably could get him here. It's probably here on this slide. Used to Me. So he is standing. He is available in New Zealand, and I'll just get that to come down.
$1,000. He's cheap.
He is very, very cheap with the GST, and you can see he's on screen there right now. He had a great race record. A lot of people, we shy away from European bred horses and what they do over there because he's raced here until he's 7-year-old, and we look at that as an American thing, and we line it up with the Americans and say, oh, that's not good when they race them for that long. It's commonplace in France to do that, and it's actually they serve earlier and they keep them racing.
That's right. Look at Bold Eagle. How old was he when he went over and beat America's Best? Was he 8 or he was an aged horse? And those European horses, they can be around a lot longer. I mean, they're just tough. Fine horses, aren't they?
They are, and he does a great job, as you said. $2,000. Classic Connection is one of the ones that I do want to highlight. Just trying to find his slide for me while I'm going along there. But he's got a ripping record: 48 starts, 11 wins. He's won 2 Group 2s. He won the German Derby as a 3-year-old. $5,000 plus your GST over there. You guys are also eligible for the $3,000 bonus that Pat's put up on offer. With any time any of his horses win a race as a 2-year-old, you get $3,000 cash back to the breeder. So if you're so if you're sitting there at home and you're thinking, oh yeah, this is cool. No, if you're the breeder, you got a Son of Love You, proven Son of Love You, raced on Prix de Marc. I can't get the name right. I never can get it right. One of the biggest days in France. He raced over there and he won on that occasion over there as well. But there's also, if you're a member of the, is it the New Zealand Breeders Association?
Yeah, another $500 off. Yeah,
off your service fee. So he goes back to $4,500 plus you get $3,000 cash if he wins a 2-year-old race.
And the thing is, Paul, that he's out of a champion 2-year-old.
Yep.
Prize Dream was a champion American 2-year-old filly. So there's a pretty good chance they're going to come early.
Yep. Dave Saunders and also Anton Galino, they're big on also the Franco-American crosses, which is something that's just happening that Mr. Duvar did with his horse initially. He was by a French stallion being Love You over a Canadian mare in this occasion, but now it's really starting to work and it's getting a lot of people starting to sit up. And this horse is one of those first ones. And he's over here as Chilled Seaman too, which is even better. He's going back to France. He's coming back. He's going to be a pure shuttle stallion going backwards and forwards. And that puts a lot of credence in how much the French like this horse as well.
Yeah, well, I know that Pat tried to buy the whole stallion and finished up. I think he was close to doing that deal, and then they decided no, they'd only sell the breeding rights for the Southern Hemisphere to him. So I think we're pretty fortunate to get a horse of this calibre down here. And it's a bit of a first to have someone like him in your backyard.
Stay tuned to Campbell's Comments too, because we've got some things planned. I was going to be over there. I can't get over there, but we've got some things planned. We're going to get some footage of him very shortly, if not the end of this week, early next week. And we'll get some footage out there because, unfortunately, we're in lockdown here too, and we're in a hard lockdown as much as you guys are now, even in the country. So it's a little bit tricky. So we're trying to do some things a little bit differently. So we definitely will get some footage. I have seen him a couple of weeks ago, saw him, and he looks like a thoroughbred. He really does. He's got the appearance of a thoroughbred stallion. He's just a beautiful horse.
Mm. I've heard that, and I look forward to seeing him in the flesh. But no, I really hope he does a good job. Over here, there's been quite a lot of interest. I know that I really can't say who the clients are, but I can tell you now some of our elite breeders will be sending mares to him. So that's something that certainly will be helpful because, as we said before, not only do you need the numbers, but you got to get the right horses that to be bred to, and he's going to get some Group 1 mares, so that's a plus.
And the job that Love You is doing, everywhere in the world, but the job he's doing in New Zealand as well, being able to get one of his sons, that's key, isn't it? Because there's no Love You, unfortunately, for you guys this year. No,
it's disappointing, particularly when he had the champion 2-year-old last year in Highgrove. He was champion, Love You was champion 2-year-old sire. He's continued to throw young horses of exceptional ability. And if you can't get him, well, the next best thing is one of his sons, isn't it? And you've got a Group 1 performing son out of a very fast, well-bred American champion 2-year-old filly. Well, you think you've got a decent chance.
Yeah, definitely. The other horse on the Haras to Trotteurs book that is Chilled Seaman, and he is in New Zealand for $1,500, is On Solitaire, the unraced. This horse is unraced, unfortunately due to injury, doing a tendon. But I saw a couple of his yearlings last year go through the yearling sales over here, and beautiful types.
Yeah, I wish I could send you some. I've got a photo on my phone that Lex Williams sent me. Now, Lex of One Over Kenny, One Under Kenny, all the Kennys, One Over the Moon. They're all his horses. Now, he said to me, people said to him that he was mad. I said, well, what have you done? He said, well, last year I sent my good mare, but I'm getting it mixed up. I've got to say the right one here. I think it's One Over Kenny.
Yep.
The Group 1 winning mare to him. And he said, it's $1,500 stallion. He said, why would you send a champion race mare who's left some champion horses? Why would you do that? He said, because I like his breeding. So anyway, he sent me a photo of the weanling. Well, I've not seen a weanling as impressive as this horse. It's a filly, but it's very, very powerfully built and just a magnificent looking animal. So anyway, he rang me up last year and he said, look, I'm thinking about going to Bold Eagle, blah, 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 blah. And then he said, I'm going to send that mare of mine back to On Solitaire. He said, I'm so impressed with this weanling. He said, she's going back.
Wow.
So there you go.
And obviously could go to any stallion he wanted to.
Yeah, so this is a champion mare, throwing champion horses. I'm just going to make sure I've got the name right of which one she is. She's a bit like all those ones of Pats. Are they Reddies? Are they or Jets?
Well, and he is a son of Reddy Jet. He is a son of Reddy Jet as well. So
yeah, okay. One over Kenny. So that's the mare. So she was a champion race mare. She's also the dam of One Over the Moon and a lot of really good horses. So On Solitaire twice to him. So pretty decent chance. You're going to get there's going to be a decent racehorse out there, and hopefully puts them on the map. He's served some reasonable books, I think 30 or 40 for a few seasons. I think he gets, and the fact that he's standing here in the flesh, it's got to be a plus.
Yeah, well, as I said, there was 2 go through the yearling sales last year. One from Haras to Trotteurs or Yabby Dam Farm that went through, and Jared Maloney also sent one through, and both were really nice types, real racy types actually, and the Reddy Jet came through in them, that's for sure. They're the 3 chilled stallions you have available, but you've also got quite a few in the frozen stallion section over there.
Yeah, I suppose, we can talk about the ones that where we're looking for expressions of interest, like Bold Eagle, for example, Eridan, Fabulous Wood. mean, these are great horses that we hope to have semen available in both countries. But the one that we do have semen of here already is Tomoko. And, what a great racehorse, won 2 elite lops, been a good sire, and a well-established horse that if we can just get some good mares to him, I'm sure he's going to be a very commercial sire and throw some nice horses. So his semen is here, and we're hopeful that he'll get a decent book. He's $7,000, so he's excellent value.
He's an amazing horse. He's won $8 million in stakes. But even in his 10-year-old career, like, you got to remember, he's a stallion. He still races. He was a 10-year-old. He had 11 starts, won 5 of them, 3 seconds and 3 thirds. He weighed in all 3 of those starts. He just must have loved racing.
If you look at one of those clips that Pat's got of him, that leg extension, I mean, his front leg will extend out horizontal. I mean, he could be a hurdler.
He is a beautiful horse, and I know Pat's very keen on him. I've got some things lined up with some people from France actually to just explain how good a horse he actually was. But yeah, as you don't have to. You won 2 elite lops. You don't really have to say a lot more, because even if you don't know what the elite lop is or you don't rate it, you only have to see what the crowds do over there and how much the Swedes love that event. It's a prestigious race and it means a lot to anyone. So to be able to win it twice with the same horse is just huge.
I know, phenomenal racehorse.
He definitely is. The best Madrick and QUAKER Jet, both available?
Yeah, best Madrick, he's served only a handful of horses here. But there's a very good horse down the South Island. Here it goes with the names again. I should have written these things down, shouldn't I? He's trained down there in the deep south, and they really rate him. So we're hoping that he's a 4-year-old, and I hope he's going to do a nice job. But you really need some horses on the ground winning races to promote some of these horses. And particularly when you've only served 3-5 mares, it's a difficult job. But he's at a reasonable fee. He's well bred. And some people that see a match with his pedigree will breed to him. So hopefully you get some decent mares.
And QUAKER Jet standing for $6,000 as well, and he's another quality horse.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to help having that mare going around over in Australia. He doesn't really have a good horse here. He's got a few horses, but into the races, they've all won races. But yeah, we're looking for that horse that'll just sort of promote him. He's a world-class sire that he's done a really good job, and he deserves to get support.
Yep. And then the last one is standing for $10,000 is Orlando VICL, and they're doing a great job over here in Australia. How are they going in New Zealand?
Well, we've only had a few to the races, and they've won a few races, but they haven't done anything really. And what a magnificent looking individual. I mean, you wouldn't see a nicer type, would you? That stallion. Like, I bred one of my group mares, Whitney, to him last year, and unfortunately she didn't. She missed. But I'd take a punt on him. At $10,000, people think he's maybe a little expensive, but he's world class.
Yeah.
You've got some nice horses in Australia. He deserves to get a book of mares, but I know we'll struggle here because there's, when you've got What the Hill and some of these other horses that are cheaper than him, it makes it a tough ask. But, he served a few mares last year, and he just needs a few to pop up here, and he might get trucking. But we've got plenty of semen and the frozen semen, so we're just waiting. Yeah,
and when you go back there and you said before about the Rowe Cup going from 150 to 250 and some other things behind the scenes, a horse like he, you when you go to them this year, you're planning 3 years ahead at the minimum when they're 2-year-olds. So you always look to the future. Don't necessarily say, the money's not quite there, because by the sounds of things, New Zealand harness racing's going the same way as what Australian harness racing's potentially going, and the money could well and truly be there in 3 years' time.
Well, what we touched on before is that there's more upside with trotting than there is pacing. And, there were the same amount of trotting sires available to breeders in New Zealand as pacing sires last season. Now, that's never been, how would that happen? Because people are seeing the future, and, we're going to get more and more breeders. I think 30-something% of all horses bred were trotters last season. So the growth is there, and as you say, it takes a few years before you actually see it, but people are getting on board now, and by the time those horses are ready to race, you'll see a significant improvement in stake money.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the exciting part over here. We're starting to see it now. One, the change of season definitely helps. I think for you guys, maybe this year, because it's a bit of an interim year that you're going through, but I can promise you, wait till next year. It's very, very exciting. But slowly building more and more races, and like with Pat's commitment with Nutrien, with the sales series, $375,000 to the Trotters in Melbourne. That's in 2023. There'll be a race series there, and there's going to be $375,000 minimum stake money on offer for the 2 and 3 year old Trotters. It augurs well. So a horse like Orlando Vici, even if you don't want to race it yourself, you want to put through the sales, could be worth a lot of money, and a lot of these other ones with the frozen semen, that's for sure.
Well, I've not seen any of his offspring in the flesh, but crikey, he's a magnificent animal.
Yeah, definitely. Jamie, anyone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Well, my mobile, which probably is dangerous to give out, but I'll give it out because I'm in the business to be got hold of. It's 021 380 588. That's from New Zealand.
Yep, very good.
And anyone wants to ring me from Australia and say that they don't know what I'm talking about, it's a 6-4 before the 21.
Very good. Or they can contact me and go from there. But I think thank you very much for your time. Love what you're doing over there. Love your honesty with the racetrack, the redevelopments, things like that. I think I'm excited about it. I think it's great. I just want to ask one question. Your son, do you always gel his hair before he walked out of the bedroom? I've never seen the hair out of place on him ever. Like, is he the sort of kid that got up and brushed it and made sure it came out properly?
Well, if you look at me, you wonder where it came from.
You said that, and I am in no position to throw rocks, so don't worry about that.
It's not as like I'm trying to brush it out of my eyes. No, he's always had very thick hair, unusual. Now, he's got a younger brother and an older sister, and their hair is quite different to his. But no, it's been like that. It doesn't get mucked around in the wind. It doesn't change. Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure he washes it. So, it's like all the time.
He does a very, very good job. If anyone's still listening to me, the name of that horse is Don't Care.
Don't Care. Good on you.
Just...
I've got a filly over there at the moment. He's put it in the same paddock as Don't Care. So I once had a very good horse, or a share of a good horse called Power of Tara, and we sent him to WA. Barry Purdon trained him here, and he won his way through the cup class and was a very good horse, but he was just a notch below some of the best. And so Barry said, look, I think we'll send him to WA and we'll win the Fremantle Cup. We thought, sounds like a good idea. So we sent him over there to a trainer, and he was trained out at near Pinjarra. So he went to Pinjarra races, and he went there and he won his first 5 races, and he never was never hobbled, never have a cart behind him. He just do some work on the beach, but once a week you go to Pinjarra, start off a long mark, pick up the win money, and pay the training bills. So it was all good stuff. So we got to Gloucester Park for the Fremantle Cup, and prior to the Fremantle Cup, I said to the trainer, I said, "Oh, what do you think about this horse? He's won these 5 races out at Pinjarra, but he's going to be up against the Mighty Quinn, Divisive, and all the best horses that were going around at the time." He said, "Well, I'll tell you a secret." He said, "See that horse he's standing there in the paddock?" I said, "Well, who was it?" He told me the name. He said, "That horse won the Golden Nugget last week." He said, "So I reckon group horses will talk to each other, and the best way to get this horse on the line is to leave him the same paddock as a Group 1 winner." So the outcome of the story was he beat Divisive and the Mighty Quinn, won the Fremantle Cup. We all made a shirt full, spent it all down the Margaret River for the next 4 days, paralysed. One of the best stories and best times of my life, actually. Had a great time in that community, well looked after by the Gloucester Park people, and looking forward to taking a horse back there one time if we got one good enough.
Yeah, I love the place. I must say I've only been there the once, as with New Zealand as well. I think hospitality, I think it's what harness racing people do outstandingly. It is the hospitality. So yeah, I know when I was over there, I couldn't fault anyone in New Zealand with the way I was treated. I really enjoyed every bit of it. So I think you guys go okay at it too, don't worry.
Well, I have a galloping background. My dad and I were owner trainers, trained gallopers. Didn't have any real good ones, but trained a few winners. And, I got involved in harness racing as an owner in early 80s, 1982. Bought a Tudor Hanover colt at the sales, and he wasn't a great horse, but he won some races, and we were hooked ever since. But the people we've met in the business, and there's just yards of them, and you just like being in it, and we're in it for the camaraderie. All want to win races, of course, but just the people you meet, and I can't say enough about them. And one of my good mates, Ken Brecken, him and I come from the same side of town. Started with nothing, didn't even have a car with the family when we were growing up. But Ken's done really well for himself. He wouldn't meet a nicer bloke. And, I just love it. And, we meet such lovely people in Australia. We can't wait to come across with a decent horse and have a few beers and hopefully take some prize money home.
He gave me one of his hats. Apparently he was going to give me one of the used ones, but the girl said, no, you're not allowed to give him one of the used ones. So I got one of his brand new ones. So every now and then when his name gets dropped, I produce it. I know they did a story on him the other day I saw over there, which is great. Some of these stories, I've forgotten the guy's name who's actually doing Greg.
Crikey. Him and Mick Gurin do a DVD.
Yeah, they're doing some shows, and it was a good little chat with him. He's a very passionate harness person, Ken, and so yeah. But I produce his hat. He doesn't pay a lot of bills, so I just put it on every now and then just to give him a rough up. But I do think it's a great sport, and Jamie, thank you very much for having a chat. I've loved it, and we'll be chatting again soon. Don't you worry about that. But as I said, anyone wants to get in touch with her, Jamie, I'll whack the email and that up at the end of this. But make sure you contact him through his phone number that he read off just there before, or through Haras to Trotteurs, and you book your mares in. And Jamie, thank you very much for the time.
Good on you, Paul. Pleasure, thank you, and look forward to the next time we catch up.